Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ginger and Chocolate Podcast. I'm Lindsay, and I'm here with my co host, Mike. How is it going, Mike?
Doing well this morning. How you doing, Lindsay?
I'm doing pretty good. Let's talk a little bit about something we're doing for our mental health. What do you got going on that you're doing specifically to take care of yourself right now?
I spend about 5 minutes breathing in the morning. Um, Sometimes it's soaking in my hot tub, and sometimes it's just sitting and breathing and letting everything else just, pass through. Um, Sometimes I do an exercise called leaves on a stream where I imagine placing every single thought on a leaf that just kind of goes down the stream and lets it pass by. So it helps with stress. It helps with kind of racing thoughts or an anxious mood. So it's been doing me some good.
Nice. I would love to sit in a hot tub in the morning. That's one of our goals is to put one in here, and I'm gonna mention to Josh we can meditate in it too. Maybe that'll light a fire underneath him. Um, so nice. And I'll just
Yeah.
share really quickly one thing I'm doing, which is I'm going to like 5 meetings a week, which at 7 a.m. So I'll go this morning after we're done recording, and I go every morning pretty much. And it really helps me to sort of connect with other people who are also on the same sober journey, and um, also just helps to hear, meetings help me quite a bit. And so if I go to those, I get centered. I was doing like 2 a week, which was fine, enough to keep me sober, but
Mm-hmm.
also not enough to keep me from being grouchy, I would say. So doing the 5 a week seems to be working for me now. So, okay. Well, folks, we have a guest, an ultra runner. And if you remember a couple episodes ago, um, we had on Lauren, he was a repeat guest, and he's an ultra runner. And we talked a lot about Western states, and he recommended Liz. So we've got Liz Omodt on the show here. Hi, Liz. How are you?
Good. I'm doing wonderful. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good, good. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us just like a little bit about your background, who you are, what you're doing.
My background, well, I'm originally from Western Massachusetts. That's where my family
Oh,
lives.
nice.
Yeah. And I moved to Northern California in 1999. And I've lived here ever since. San Francisco, Oakland, San Mateo, Campbell, San Jose. I currently live in San Jose. And I started running in February of 2012,
Okay.
and I got sober in my sobriety date's May 26, 2012. So
Awesome.
I started running in some of my darkest days.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
had started running, and I'm a hairdresser.
Nice.
I own my own business. I went out on my own from the salon I was at about a little over 2 years ago. So,
Awesome.
yep, I have my own studio, and I'm married, and we have a special needs bulldog.
Ah.
And I'm an ultra runner, and I'm a woman in recovery. 12 typical popular 12-step program. I go to meetings. I have a sponsor. I am a sponsor, and that's a pretty full life. And I run ultras. So,
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a lot.
yeah.
Wow, that's a great background. Total aside, but my daughter
Yeah.
is also a stylist, and she is also thinking about
Oh,
going out on her own. She's been with the same salon for a number of years,
mm-hmm.
and it's a little scary, but I think in the end, it's the best way to go, it seems like. So, congrats on getting out there.
And you and I can talk offline, but I'm here
Hmm.
for whatever she needs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, awesome. That would be
Yeah,
amazing. She would love
absolutely.
someone to kind of mentor her, and because
I'd be happy
it's
to.
a different thing. Yeah. Okay. Great. We'll
Yeah,
connect offline. That would be
good,
amazing. Um,
good.
so interesting that so did you start running before you got sober or right after you go? How it was the timing of that?
I did. So I started running before I got sober. And I was working at a small salon in Campbell, right at kind of a diagonal across the street from the prune yard, if you're familiar. And the owner had an idea. I think this was kind of as a team building, that we would all register and run the Diva half marathon together.
Yes.
So I was overweight, probably by about 30 pounds, and I really wanted to lose it. And I wanted to be a part of, I really wanted to fit in with these ladies. I wanted to impress these ladies. I had no recovery, very little self-esteem, if any. And I just jumped on the bandwagon and started walking on the Los Gatos Creek Trail, and then running on the Los Gatos Creek Trail. No real plan, no responsible coaching, no real knowledge of anything. I grabbed a pair of running shoes on sale from a shelf in Marshall's, and off I went. And we did that half marathon, and my time was 2:34, and I couldn't believe it. And I remember crossing that finish line and just feeling so good, feeling that I had accomplished something. And I drank a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc the night before that half marathon, which for me at that time was like Sprite. That was nothing.
Right.
That was that was barely even on par.
So that was a good pre-race. Like, you took care of yourself pre-race.
Yes. I'm sure there's some water in there somewhere to hydrate. If you can get an idea of my mentality at that time. So a bottle of wine is only 4 glasses.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Really and truly. And I finished that race, and I remember how good I felt, and that started everything. Crossing a finish line, doing something. I had started to lose weight a little bit, and the other ladies that I worked at this salon with were heavy drinkers. So getting together and drinking again, I really wanted to be a part of, and willing to go to any lengths to be a part of and be included and liked, and worried about not being liked, and self-centered fear all over the place. So I am not a heavy drinker. I am an alcoholic. So there were moments that set me apart from these other coworkers that I was spending time with.
Yeah. There is a difference. Sometimes it's hard to discern, especially when you're in denial. But there are people who drink heavily who are not alcoholics. I've met them, and they've kind of blown my mind, because they don't have all the other repercussions that alcoholics have, emotionally and mentally. It's just they like to drink. Cannot relate to that myself.
No, me either.
Okay, well, that's pretty amazing. And we earlier this year we had a guest on named Jeff, who is sober, and his experience was the same in the sense that he started running right at the end of his drinking, which is an interesting thing to do, because I can't imagine you felt that great drinking alcoholically. So were you getting up and running in the morning, or how did you start, or did you just continue from the training, or how did that kind of go?
I got up and went. I got up and suited up, and these other ladies we would have plans to show up Los Gatos Creek Trail, and again, wanting to be liked, wanting to be included. And I would still be drunk from the night before. They could smell alcohol on me going running. And at times it made me feel better to get a run in and sweat some of it out. But I went and put the work in regardless. As I said, I was losing weight. I was feeling good. I was liking the results I was getting. So if I like something, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it until the wheels fall off. when I feel good, I want more of that yesterday. So how can I go to any lengths to get more of that feeling?
Mhm.
So I would suit up and show up.
That's awesome. That
Even
is
though,
really, really good.
Even though I was hungover, even though I felt sick, even though I was slow, even though I was dragging, and I knew somewhere in the back of my mind for a long time before I started running, and obviously before I got sober, there was something in the back of my mind that said, one of these days I'm going to have to get sober. One of these days. And I started to wonder during this time, how much better could I run if it weren't for my drinking?
Right.
How much more of a successful hairstylist would I be if it weren't for my drinking? My drinking became this thing. And the seed, I call it my God voice, but that seed was planted, that somewhere, somehow, I knew this couldn't continue. And I had a feeling I would end up in a room in a church with a folding chair and a styrofoam cup of coffee. I just,
Yeah.
I didn't have health insurance at the time. And I knew that those rooms were free. You could put a buck in a basket and you could sit and you'd be welcome. Somehow I knew that.
That's crazy that you knew that without.
Somehow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you're running and you're realizing that life might be better if you're not drinking alcoholically. At some point that you're going to probably have to try doing that, and you know about the program, which is pretty cool. So when did you actually take that step and, stop drinking?
So I got an ultimatum from the owner of that salon. And she put me in touch with a client of hers that was in the rooms. And I talked to her and made a plan to attend my first meeting, which was May 26, 2012. It was a Saturday morning in Los Gatos. And I think my last drink wasn't even anything remarkable. It was like a couple glasses of wine alone on my couch in my hovel of an apartment that I lived in. I didn't go out and do one big last night. I was so done. I was so over it. I was so done. I knew I had to go to the program. I knew I had to go. And I went to that meeting and I stood up. I announced I was an alcoholic. There was no question. And evidently that's not how everybody arrives, but that's how I arrived.
That's great. That's a good way to arrive.
That's how I arrived. And I was desperate. I was lonely. I was bloated. I felt gross. And the ladies were very, very kind to me, and they bought me a book. And they took me to coffee after the meeting. And this is back when we had the paper meeting guides. And they started going through all the, the good meetings in Santa Clara County. And they came to this one in the meeting guide, and they're like, ooh, this one, you probably don't want to go there. And I was like, well, why? And they said, there's a lot of men there with tattoos and motorcycles, and it's a rough and tumble atmosphere. It's not a good place for a girl like you. And these women obviously did not know me very well. Right. So this group, it's called Saturday Night Live, ended up
I
being.
know that. I've been there.
That was my first home group. I spent the first 4.5 years of my sobriety there at SNL. Yep.
That's a great group. I mean, I do see where they were coming from in terms of, you could look around the room and say, oh, these are not my people. If you wanted to prejudge everybody, you could do that. But that's a great meeting. I mean, I don't live down in the South Bay, and we've driven down there to go to that meeting. So, yeah.
I mean, you could look around and feel that way. And I definitely have, or you could meet your spouse there, which I did. Yeah. So
That's good.
Yeah.
Met my partner in the rooms too, and I do feel
Good.
it's not necessary to have a partner in the rooms, but it is kind of nice because you do have the same shorthand language, which I find to be helpful a lot of times with the communication. Just there's a way that we can communicate that is respectful and also know each other on a deep level, where it's like, okay, maybe let's go to a meeting or something,
Yes.
Let's do that. Okay. So May 2012, you get sober.
Yep.
Now, and you've done the half marathon, and you're continuing to run on your own at that point?
Yep.
Okay.
So 10 days into my sobriety, I was very unceremoniously fired from that salon.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
And it was what it was. Obviously I don't fit in anymore, and that's okay. So I had my days free. And I was going to 2 and 3 meetings a day, every day. I would go to the noon at SNL. Then I would go to a truly happy hour meeting at 4. And then, then I started making friends in the rooms, and people I'm still friends with today. And, if they were going to the 6, I'd go to the 6 too.
Yeah.
And I went to coffee, and I went bowling, and I went for Mexican food, and I said yes, and I hung out.
That's great.
Said yes and hung out. Yeah.
A side note on the Mexican food, there was I got sober in Palo Alto. I live in Half Moon Bay now, but I got sober over in Palo Alto, and there's a gentleman in there who's got, I don't know, probably by now he's got 35 years of sobriety, but at the time, he was sharing that until he got sober, he didn't realize that Mexican food wasn't an expensive endeavor. He said, I thought Mexican food was like $200 every time you went out. And the first time we went out sober, it was like $8. It's because he was drinking high-end margaritas and so many of them that it was like $200 every time he went. And he's like, who knew Mexican food was actually a cheap meal?
Yes.
Okay.
What an epiphany.
So you got this free time. You're doing meetings. And you're running. So what does the running look like? And did you sign up for another event, or how did you kind of move forward?
So I'm running. I think I did. I entered the lottery for the Nike Women's Marathon. And this is back while I was still working with these other ladies at this salon, and I got in. So I continued running and walking. Again, no plan, no idea what I was doing. And I had 142 days sober, and I ran my first marathon, Nike Women's in San Francisco.
Nice.
And I finished, and I got my Tiffany necklace, and I bought all the gear and all the things. And then I remember the holidays were coming at that point, because that was October. So the holidays are coming, and I was worried. I was worried about my first sober Christmas. And I said, well, I should find a race to register for, because it was register for a race. And I'm always registered for something coming up, have been my whole running career. Something to look forward to. Something to work towards, something to chip away at, something fun to look forward to. And I found this little race company called Brazen Racing, and they had all kinds of races. And they had one called the Almost New Year's Eve. Yeah, Almost New Year's Eve at Lake Chabot. And I'm thinking, oh, Lake Chabot, whatever. That's like half an hour away, no big deal. And I registered for that. It was like December 29th. I'm like, well, that's perfect. It's right between Christmas and New Year's. I will have this thing to work on. And I had no idea that they made half marathons with hills. I had no idea. There's the ignorance and bliss of early running is tremendous. It is tremendous. And I registered for this race, and there's a mountain here in the South Bay called Kennedy. It's in the Sierra Azul Open Space Preserve. It's 8 miles, so 4 miles straight up, about 2,000 feet, turn around and back down for another 2,000 feet. So I had been hiking that for a while, and there were parts of I went to this half marathon, and it was muddy, and it was, start of the rainy season. And there were parts of that half marathon that felt like Kennedy. And I was like, why would anybody do this? Why would anybody make a half marathon in the dirt, in the mud, with hills? And I didn't have a watch, but I managed to finish. My time was 2:51. I was like, I can't believe I just finished that thing in under 3 hours, because I walked and trudged and just kept going in my ignorance and frustration. Like, oh my gosh, this is like Kennedy. You gotta be kidding me, right? I had no idea. No idea.
So was this your first trail race? Or
it sure was. Oh yeah.
And did you know you were signing up for a trail race and understand the difference? Okay.
No. I knew I knew nothing, and the longer I stay sober and keep running, the more I realize how much I don't know. In fact, I know very little. There are some things I do that I know how to do really well, and the rest of it, I'm just like, I'm just gonna suit up and show up and hope for the best. And that is exactly how that morning went down. So
yeah, and Brazen is a great company. If you live in the Bay Area, I highly recommend you look it up. I've done several of their races, and it's just super fun crowd. And that New Year's time, they've got a few races. I've done the New Year's Day race several times, which is something only sober I could do, New Year's Day, which there's just a crowd out there of people who are starting their year off in a healthy, happy way, which I love. And I do have, now they have a thing on their website that shows how you can sort of become part of a group by doing a certain amount of races in a year. That's on my bucket list. I haven't done that. Have you done that yet?
Well, so answer your question, yes. And as I mentioned before, when I like a feeling, I want more of it. So I decided to become a Brazen Streaker.
Yes.
Brazen Streaker. So when I did that 4 years in a row.
Wow. Okay.
So my first streak year was 2014.
Okay.
And the only reason that I stopped streaking with Brazen is I got into Boston.
Oh, okay.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah,
and it conflicts with Mount Diablo 50K. Okay. So there was a conflict there. And I said that was the only way I would stop streaking. So when I did it, it was about 26 to 27 races in a calendar year. And you plan your life around it. You plan your vacations, weddings. I think, so I had about 16 months so I took a year off of doing hair when I first got sober, because I just couldn't. I picked up a wedding here and there, but I worked this other little catering job just to kind of make ends meet while I went to all these meetings and got my feet under me. So I had about 16 months when I got hired at the big salon that I worked at for almost 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Right. So and I worked every Sunday. So there were some races on Sundays when I would register for the 5K, go run it, run back to my car, wipe down, change, and go straight to the salon. Like I had to fit it in. I had to prioritize and make it work. If I was invited to a wedding, actually my own wedding was my own wedding was on a Sunday. Because I was streaking with Brazen, and races typically are on Saturdays.
Right.
So I did a half marathon the morning of my rehearsal dinner. It's a huge commitment. It's a huge part of your year and your life. But what a fabulous way to spend a year. Fabulous. And
Yeah.
Sam and Jasmine now are, they're kind of like my running mom and dad.
Oh.
I just saw them at Western States Training Camp this year. I went to do the middle day of training camp this year, and they were there, and got to talk with them we were walking up a hill, and I got to talk with them and catch up and what I want to do next year and things. And they're fantastic people. Fantastic. So wholeheartedly recommend it. I mean, what a way to start a running life was with them. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, okay. So you're in the trail running now, you're sober. Were you doing ultra distance at this time? When did you start doing longer than a marathon, or was Boston the first kind of marathon and it went from there?
No. Boston didn't happen until 2018. So I ran my first qualifier in 2017, which is Santa Rosa. And the ultras, I think I did Dirty Dozen with Brazen. And I want to say, if memory serves, that was 2015. And I wanted to see, so that's a 12-hour event, and you're on this 3.37 mile loop. And how many loops can you do in those hours? So I registered for the 12 hours because I wanted to see if I could get a 50K, which would be 10 loops. So I did 33.70 miles and I think it took me 7 hours or something. And I was so that was my first ultra, technically. And I remember I was so done. I was so miserable. My husband came to pick me up, and I carpooled him. My husband came to pick me up, drive me home. And it's about a half a mile walk from the race staging area to the parking lot. And I remember doing my last loop, and I told my husband, I was like, I can't make it to the truck. And he said, yes, you can. I was like, no, I can't. You're being so mean. I had to trudge my little self with my stuff out to the truck and get a ride home after 33.7 miles. But I did it. I did it. I got my goal. And the following year, I decided I was going to do Mount Diablo 50K. So that was my first, I call it like my big girl ultra. Oh yeah. And I remember being at the starting line for that race, and a friend of mine came up to me and he said, Liz, if you can do this today, you can do AR50, no problem.
Oh, that's my bucket list race. Okay. Let's hear about this.
And I was like, so all of a sudden my brain went from, I don't know if I can do Mount Diablo 50K to, if I can do this, I can do AR50 with no problem. Yeah. So, well, now I'm really going to do this. Yeah. And I just dug in and did it. And they give you 11 hours to do that 50K, which is very generous. And I think I finished in 8:17. I was so happy, so triumphant. My husband was at the finish line. All the pictures, all the fanfare, all the social media posts, all the things that I had completed that 50K. Because it's got 8,500 feet of climb. It is no joking. And you climb, it's like the Devil Horns, Mount Diablo. You climb both summit, and then you go to North Peak. And the North Peak one was the beast for me. But I did it, and that I couldn't believe I did that. So
I having ridden up Mount Diablo several times to the very, very tippy top, I can't imagine signing up for that race and having it be sort of the first big ultra. So congrats on that. I mean, but like you said, I guess if you don't know what you don't know. So, I mean, it seems like, why not do Mount Diablo? I mean, who knows? Okay. So did you do AR50 after that?
Nope.
Okay.
No. I I went ahead and registered for Quicksilver 100K.
Oh my
I went ahead
goodness.
and registered. Yes, I went ahead. I think that was on my bucket list, Quicksilver 100K. Because I was training at Quicksilver. I trained at Quicksilver for Mount Diablo.
Okay.
Beautiful. So its proper name is Almaden Quicksilver County Park. It's here in it's South San Jose in Almaden Valley. Great for heat training. And I was running there, and they had this race, Quicksilver 100K. I did another Dirty Dozen the follow after Mount Diablo, and I think I did 55.72 miles my goal was to keep moving for the whole 12 hours. So this Dirty Dozen race was kind of like my litmus test environment for me to go out and see what I could do, how long I could keep moving. So I did Dirty Dozen. I was like, and then I registered for this 30K at Sanborn Park, which is in Saratoga down here in South Bay, Highway 9-ish area. And I met this very small in stature elderly man who was, during the race, he was fiddling with his pack. And it was a rainy day, so we had rain shells on too. So he was fiddling with his rain shell and his running pack, his hydration vest. And I stopped and I said, hello. I said, do you need some help? Do you need an extra pair of hands? And he had a pretty heavy pronounced Irish brogue accent. And he didn't need my help, but we kept running. And I talked to him some miles in. He mentioned he was part of the Quicksilver Running Club. And I said, oh, I want to do the 100K someday. And he looked at me with the Irish brogue and goes, oh, you can do it. And I said, really? Oh. And it turns out this gentleman was a man named Jim McGill, and he is a legend. He's had multiple Badwater finishes and Western States finishes, and I had no idea who I was talking to. I was just trying to be helpful and be of service outside the rooms because that's what I'm supposed to do. And I ended up meeting this gentleman who told me that I could do Quicksilver 100K. I came home from that race. I told my husband, I'm registering for Quicksilver 100K. This guy says I can do it.
Hey.
So here we are. Not a lot of thought went into these decisions. I wish I could say, no, I don't wish. It is what it is. I just plumb did it. I just said, I'm doing this. And I tend to make an impulsive decision and then rewind and figure out how I'm going to get there.
Well, you're a little bit like Pippi Longstocking. You've got this reddish hair, and that whole character. It's like
the pigtails.
Exactly. You just need the pigtails. She could do anything until someone else told her that she couldn't. And so you're a little bit like her. Like, I'm just going to sign up and just do it. I mean, someone said I could. I guess I can, which is amazing. Because that's a random dude on a trail, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are always encouraging. So I think it's great that you signed up. Okay. So now you're signed up for Quicksilver 100K. And at that point, what's the furthest that you had run?
55.72.
Okay. Which is a long distance in and of itself.
Yeah.
And how much training time did you have between signing up and actually the race?
Oh, you sign up in November and you run in May. So 6 months. And my husband gifted me a running coach that Christmas.
Oh, very cool.
Yep. So I started working with a coach, and that was a huge game changer. And the gift at the time was like 4 months or something, and she's still coaching me. And that was, we started working together in January of 2017. She's still my coach.
Yeah, that's great.
She's fantastic. Her name is Alexandra Gurjanarova. We've been working together and on this dream train ever since January of 2017.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So let's jump forward a little bit. I assume you got through that race. Did you get through the race?
I did. I finished sub 15.
Nice. Very nice.
Yep.
So you're turning into a pretty good runner for somebody who was 30-pound overweight drunk,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Thank you.
Not bad
Yeah.
at all. Did you set your sights on 100-mile, or how did you get to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. After I did that 100K, I told coach, I want to run Rio de Lago
Okay.
because someone told me that was a good first 100.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that. Is that accurate or no?
No.
Okay.
So I have 8 100-mile finishes, and for a first 100, it's tough.
Okay.
You are in the hills with no kind of civilization that you're aware of in the middle of the night. It's a great race. I think they say that because it's so well supported. There's an aid station roughly every 5 miles. I mean, there's one 7-mile stretch that you don't have aid. It's very well supported. It's really easy to crew or pace.
Right.
That absolutely chef's kiss to crew and pace. That race is very, very, very easy. But it's got 13,000 feet of climb. It's no joke. I mean, that's the climb on Quicksilver 100K, but you're just spreading it out over 100 miles, and you have to do the overnight. So
right.
That to me is why it's not. I don't know. Tunnel Hill in southern Illinois. That's a good first 100.
Okay.
There's like 300 feet of climb.
Yeah.
Yeah. In November. That one. Yeah.
I forget people who are not from California don't necessarily have hills. And I'll just say quickly, I was at a triathlon in the North Bay years ago, a half Ironman, and it was a deep water start, and we were just kind of floating there waiting for it was like the 40 to 45, women group. And we're floating, and there was a group of women from Florida, and they were so mad because they had driven the bike course, and the race was described as having like rolling hills, which that was California speak, and it is rolling for us, you know what I mean? But for Florida, it was like this, and they said the description was all wrong, and I can't believe it. And I said, well, it's all relative, you know what I mean? Look around you. We're not climbing some of these mountains, and I never saw them again. I'm going to assume they finished. But you're right. If you come from the Midwest or somewhere else like that, it's definitely a different, you can do 100 miles and get 300 feet of climbing. So.
I've been around long enough to know that gentle rolling and mostly runnable means it's hilly. Net downhill means it's hilly.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. The key is net. You know what I mean? The first net downhill run I had, I thought was downhill. You know what I mean? I just thought it was just a downhill, and I was all excited for it. And I'm like, why am I going up right now? Okay. So how was that race for you? How was the overnight that first time?
Magical. Again, the bliss of not knowing. I didn't think I needed crew. I had one pacer, and I did well. I think my time was 24:55.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I had a wonderful pacer. The pacer I had was the gentleman that told me that if I could do Mount Diablo 50K, I could do AR 50, no problem. It was,
nice.
Yeah. It was, yep. And so it was fine. I got my 100-mile buckle, and I was very proud, and it added a big boost to my self-esteem, because no matter what was happening at the salon, whatever, in the back of my mind, I was like, you can keep saying what you're saying. I can run 100 miles.
Yeah.
I can run 100 miles. It just added a brick that and not in a cocky way, but just, I can do something that most people can't do.
Right. Yeah.
And now I want to go do it again. So I made the decision that I was going to do Rio de Lago again the following year, and I was going to go for sub 24.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So that's how that went. I was like, okay, I want more. Okay, I want more of this. I want to do this, but do it faster.
Okay.
So the concept of more.
I can relate to that for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Is Rio de Lago a
Yep.
qualifier for Western states? Because
Yep.
Lauren was trying to break down for me how you qualify, that it's sort of a lottery situation, but you had to have gotten points somewhere. So, okay.
Yeah.
So it's one of those races.
Yep. And so is Quicksilver 100K. So it took me 7 years to get into Western states of qualifying year after year. And I got into the lottery and I was in the auditorium. I was sitting to Lauren's left, which is mythically how you have a good chance of getting into Western states if you sit on Lauren's left. And then, and then my crew chief was in the other seat. So I was sandwiched between two of my best friends. And my name was called and I got to go on the stage, and that was wonderful.
How fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So what year was this?
I ran Western States last year.
Okay.
So 2024 was my year.
Nice. And tell us about the race. I mean, how'd it go for you?
It went well. To be honest, I'm super grateful that I was given the opportunity to do it. I'm a finisher. I have my buckle. Nice. The hype and the anticipation and the energy and hype around that race didn't do so well for me. I have outside issues, anxiety and panic being part of those, and I get overwhelmed. I get overstimulated easily in certain environments, and I think that the hype around it, and then I have to run 100.2 miles with all this climb and logistics and crew and pacers. It's a tough course, and it's technical. You can trip and fall very, very, very easily, and you have to cross a river. I had never done that, or crossing a river with a rope. And there was a lot, but it was magical. It was not as hot as everybody had said. There were so many things that everybody had said and told me about this race. And then when I went to do it, I'm just like, okay, here I am, 7 years of qualifying and trying to get in and not getting in, and trying to get in and not getting in. And I got to run on that track. I came through that finish line. I got my finish. My goal was sub 29, and my finish time was 28:18. I was really happy.
Yeah, that's a great time.
Yeah, I had wonderful pacers. I had wonderful crew. Everything came together. That was great. My mental, I was on a Zoom meeting every night before that race. On race weekend, and I was on my Calm app like 3 times a day just to get centered and remind myself, this is a race like any other. It's a race that's more popular than most, but I had to retreat to get centered.
Right. That makes sense. I can relate to that. The hype of something, the anxiety and the nerves, is not something that fuels me. I mean, I think some people are fueled by that, that sort of, I think that fuels my partner. He races road bikes. And I think getting kind of worked up about it helps him push himself further. For me, it's so draining and energy sapping. So I can relate to needing to kind of center myself and get it together a little bit emotionally and mentally before. Well, that's so, it's inspirational that you went from, your journey from being a drinking with heavy drinkers that are not impressed with your ability to, how much you can drink. It sounds like heavy drink. When heavy drinkers say, you gotta stop, that's not that should be a sign that It's not always a sign.
Yes.
I had a woman who was going to court because she had a meth addiction, which I didn't, drugs weren't my thing, but wine was the thing that took me out. Just a little Chardonnay is what really brought me to my knees. But she was a meth addict and she had managed a McDonald's and she had embezzled from this McDonald's and she was going to court and was going to go to jail for embezzlement. And she told me one time, I can't hang out with you because your drinking is just so out of control. And I was like, you're going to court for meth. And I got it. You know what I mean? At the time, I was just offended. It didn't hit my, brain as if like, this is a sign, because in my mind, I'm like, I'm doing Chardonnay, you're doing meth. But when a meth addict tells you that you're a problem,
Yes.
you really are a problem. This is an issue.
Perhaps it's time.
Exactly. So what are your plans now? You said you like to be registered for things. So what are you doing now?
Oh my gosh. So right now I'm registered for Dick Collins 50 miler, which is the last Saturday in September. Super excited. It's my 5th time doing it. Great race. Lake Chabot.
Oh, Lake Chabot. Okay.
Which has hills and dirt. My big dream is I would love to run Badwater 135.
Ah, yes.
So I ran Keys 100 this year in May, and I finished. My time was 23:24, 93 degrees, 110% humidity, and you're running on cement. You run from Key Largo to Key West in Florida.
Okay.
The southernmost area of Florida. So
cement. That's pretty.
Yeah, I actually lived in Key West when I was like 21 years old, so that's pretty alcoholic if you've lived in Key West. But I went there this year and I crewed a beautiful runner from Italy. Her name is Julia, and Death Valley National Park is a magical, magical place, and that is my dream is to get to be a Badwater finisher. So it's a big deal, and it's going to take me a lot of hard work. I'm ready to do it. Keys 100 is on their list of recommended races. So is Western States. So, and crewing this year. But I apply in January and I'll find out February 1st if I get a spot.
Is it a lottery or are they selecting runners based on your experience?
It's merit based.
Okay.
It's 100. Yep. You are selected and invited.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then do you run up is there a component of it with Mount Whitney Portal Road, or?
The finish line is Whitney Portal.
Okay.
So you come through Lone Pine, which is where the hotel is. Okay. And then you make this left onto Whitney Portal Road and you go up to Whitney Portal. I think that's it's like a half marathon up.
Yeah. Okay.
On the road. Yeah.
I'm just familiar. I did a lot of burro packing and backpacking when I was growing up, and up in that area. So I'm familiar with all those roads, and I'm familiar with Lone Pine, and that's quite the terrain out there, just in general, for that race from start to finish. Feels like it's extra challenging.
Yeah. And it's 135 miles. Yeah.
Which is also extra challenging.
Yes.
That last, it seems like for people who are listening who don't do ultras, and I don't do ultras, but I've done enough endurance sports to know that extra little bit, 35 miles, seems like, you might think, oh, she was run 100 miles. What's the big deal about 135? But that last 35 is a big deal. It makes a huge difference in terms of, preparation and kind of pace and crewing and all of those things. I assume, would that be accurate to say?
Yes. It's a huge endeavor with multiple people, lots of rules, which and I'm a rule follower, that is my nature. Once you get in a groove, it's all good, but getting into that groove of rhythm with pacers and crew and a crew chief and a minivan and the ice that's needed, the nutrition that's needed, the crew chemistry that's needed
Yeah.
to get this one runner to the finish line. It's a really big deal. Really, it's a huge undertaking. It's also an honor, and you feel that. You feel it's very hollowed ground. You feel you run by the Joshua tree on the U2 cover. I mean, it's so unbelievable. The desert is absolutely beautiful. Very special
What time of
place.
year is it?
July.
Oh, July. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty toasty out there.
Yep. Hottest place in the
Oh,
world, I
wow.
think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hot and tired just thinking about doing. So doing an ultra is something I've always wanted to do. I've always had AR50 on my bucket list. I'm not running right now just from injuries, and I'm trying to figure out how I can get back into it without re-injuring. I'm kind of in this loop where I start a little bit, run, walk, and then I have things crop up. It's a balance issue from having an ankle problem, which everyone on this, everyone listeners know about this, um, but I've always wanted to do an ultra, and I have friends who are older than me that have done them. And so I know that it's still a possibility. I haven't gotten past the age where it's a possibility, but what would you say to someone who wants to, get into it and how to do that and kind of where to start?
Well, first of all, you absolutely can and should do it if it's something that's on your heart, no question. Second of all, if you're injured and you can't run right now, you need Dr. Ho. You need to go. You need to go see Dr. Ho here in San Jose, and I can give you that information offline. I recommend getting a coach. Wholeheartedly, in the last 8 years, I've been injured twice.
Okay.
And before I had a coach, I used to get injured twice a year. So there's something. Easy days are easy. Hard days are hard. And I believe my coach coaches on an 80-20, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. I just trust her and I do what she tells me to do and I don't question it. And so far, so good. So if doing an ultra is on your heart, you must do it.
Okay.
And it will not be your last.
Oh, no.
It will not be your last. Give yourself a chance. I mean, if you like running, I love running. Why am I going to go for a run when I can go for a run all day and all night?
Right.
I mean, it's pretty good. I suggest starting with a 50K or a 50 miler. AR50, you can do AR50. Okay. No problem. You can do AR50. If you're willing to put the time in, if you're willing to get up early in the morning and don't skip workouts and dedicate yourself, you can do AR50. Okay. Absolutely.
I definitely thought about starting with a 50K, and there's some right around where I live that are, hilly, of course. But one of them is in Woodside in Huddard Park. They do one, and they do a couple in there, and that's sort of my zone where I've been running my whole running career.
Huddard Park is good. You have Montera Mountain out there.
Yes.
And Coastal Trail Runs does a great race on Montera Mountain.
Oh, do they? So I've done a half marathon there, and you're right. There were people doing a 50K now that I think about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Our friend of the show, Heidi, Mike knows Heidi. She did the 50K the year in 2019. So we did this a full Ironman together. And then we did that race on Montera Mountain, which I hadn't thought about. But yes, she did the 50K and podium there. And I did the half marathon and did not podium. I was still tired from my full Ironman, to be honest. When I did that race, I was like, it's been 4 or 5 months and I'm still tired, but it is beautiful. It's a little hilly, but not too bad. Not too bad. So that's something to think about. Definitely. There was a race up in North Star in Lake Tahoe area. And I'm trying to remember what it's called right now. Oh, shoot. It's one that I wanted to do just because we like to spend time in North Star in Lake Tahoe.
Mm-hmm.
And but it is straight. I mean, it's a ski resort, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it is, you know, straight up the mountain. You go all the way up and over on the backside, and then you're coming back up and back over. So Big Chief, they call it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, maybe not the best first, you know, 50K, but also, I mean,
I
if I take your advice, I feel like I love it
yeah.
up there, so why not do, you know, whatever.
Do what you love. I mean, I've got to do what I love. I'm no one's going to pay me to. I'm not a professional runner. No one's going to pay me. This is I do this because I love it and I love the results I'm getting. So if something don't wait. We're not getting any younger. Don't wait. My
That's
best
a good point.
advice. Like today's the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds good.
Yeah.
Love
So,
it.
listener Mike has been on the call. It's just he's having some internet issues.
Okay.
So, I just wanted to find out, Mike, do you have any questions or anything you wanted to ask Liz?
No, I just want to say I appreciate you coming on the show and thank you for sharing the incredible journey, you know, from where you came from to what you're doing now. It's so inspiring. I'm also a 2012 sobriety person, so you got me
Yay.
by a few months, and it's just exciting. It's exciting to see what you've done, and I appreciate you sharing that wisdom and knowledge with us today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Thank you.
you should write a book, Liz. It's so inspiring,
Whew.
and I'm sure you've heard that before. But what you know, I feel like your story can be related to by people who are sober or need to get sober, who aren't running but still
Mm-hmm.
need that journey. You know, and then it could also appeal to runners who are not, you know, alcoholics and just to
Mm-hmm.
your journey. So yeah, I'd love to read a book if you have
Oh,
time.
thank you.
Um, and yeah, like Mike said, I really appreciate you coming on, and we're going to talk more offline for sure.
Yeah.
About
Thank you so much for having me. This is my first podcast. I've never been on a podcast, and this has been a fantastic experience.
awesome. Thank you so much.
I love that you guys
Won't be
wanted
your
to do it
last.
early too.
yeah,
Thank you.
early morning people for sure.
Yes, I love it.
You know, it's funny. It's easy to get endurance athletes to come on the show at 6 a.m. You know,
Yes.
say we record at 6. Is that okay? And they're like, yeah, sure. Because everyone's
Yep.
up, going to do their run or what have you. And
Mhm.
so it's pretty easy. All right, listeners, we're going to wrap it up.
Okay.
And we're going to put Liz's, you know, some information about her in the show notes so that you can follow her on social media, watch her Badwater journey, things like that. And all right, everybody, you know what? I'll just say this. If you want to support the show, tell one friend about it this week. So if you just share the link from whatever podcast app you use with one friend, that would really help support us and get the word out there. And so thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Bye.